It's early morning and we're on the Oregon backcountry discovery route, but our progress has been stopped by snow.
One of the great parts about arriving at a campsite late, and then when you get up in the morning you just see this new world. Sitting around the fire last night, the fire was difficult to make because the wood is all wet, but anyway we did warm ourselves a bit, looked at the maps and realised in fact we can't continue on this route. It's going to be too difficult. Getting past this we proved last night is bad enough. We could air down, we might be able to get through. It's not going to be easy, and then there are probably 100 more. So we have got one day to get to the other part of these range of mountains and into a flat plateau and desert area where we're planning to meet a chap who's taking us to see an aircraft wreck. It was a night flying exercise in the late 60s, I think. I'll get all the details. A6 Intruder, and it crashed, and there were 2 fatalities in that accident, and the wreck remains on the ground as a memorial to those 2 airmen. And that we will be going to, because we understand that there is no snow in that area, but to get there we can't do the route there. We have to go all the way around and unfortunately get back onto some main roads. It's a way it sometimes happens.
I'm in the US to discover how overlanding is getting on here. The mystery for me is, why is the US behind the rest of the world? Or is it? Have they been doing it all along and just calling it something else? My host, Jeremy James, is driving a pretty ordinary Toyota pickup, a Tundra V8, but the equipment in and on it is not ordinary. On the other hand, I am driving a mother's mall crawler, a Lexus GX470, but it's been stripped out and adapted for off-road, and some of its equipment is also not that ordinary.
Who's climbing?
Really nice coat.
Time for some local wildlife.
Dad, do you want
My
to
daughter
see?
Kate has spotted a bear. Black bear, yes? Is that a black bear?
Huh?
Black bear?
Yep, they're back there.
He's young then? Or she?
I don't know, to be honest.
Are their coats not usually this pretty?
Well, sometimes they're discolored, or they're like dirty, or they're cinnamon. They have cinnamon bears up here too that are black bear, but they're red.
My first bear. That's the very first one I've seen in the wild. As we descend, we leave the remote tracks and return to civilization. Time to take advantage of it. We're at a town called Bend in Oregon. Very trendy, pretty place. We've overnight here. This isn't really an overland trip. Store-bought cappuccinos and breakfast, and on our way now to the desert plateau of Oregon to meet some friends. This is not my normal style of overlanding, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. Alright, so we have made contact on the radio with a group of people that are going to take us into the hills to find the aircraft wreckage and also some other geological formations that are of interest. And here they are. Having spent the night in a motel, I'm really looking forward to getting out into the wilderness again.
Oh yeah, if I don't have it, I don't have it. Hey,
Andrew.
There he is.
Good to see you.
This is Dennis and Mark. They know Oregon well and will be leading our convoy for the next few days.
Good.
Pleasantries quickly over, we're back on the track.
This is what I like doing best. On a trail, group of mates. We've got Dennis up front. He knows the area very, very well. He's our host and guide for this section. Then we've got Mark. He's their owner of Metaltech. They loaned us this vehicle. They fabricate bumpers and various other bits and pieces, and they do suspension fittings on overland vehicles. They're based in Portland, Oregon. And of course, Jeremy behind us in his Tundra. And well, the best part about this kind of trip is, because I didn't organize it, I have not really a lot of information about what's going to happen next.
But of course, with Kate now driving, that could all change.
Get your winches, boys. It's time.
And we are all enjoying our trucks. Of course, some more than others. Here are my first impressions of the Ironman suspension fitted to this rig.
These are it has a full set of springs, and it has the high-spec Ironman shock absorbers.
No.
Maybe a rough track is not the best place to review these shocks and springs. We'll try that again later.
Right, we've made it here just before sunset. Amazing, because for the last 5-ish hours we've been driving over nothing but rolling hills covered in a wild sage. And now, like an oasis of trees on the edge of a hill on a sand dune. It's our camping spot for the night.
As we set up camp for the night, perhaps we can look more closely at the difference between camping and overlanding. Firstly, overlanders, generally speaking, seek out remote spots, such as this one.
You're pretty good there. That's it. You're level from here.
We don't need or want ablution facilities, and mostly we loathe traditional camping sites. We are also self-sufficient, and our vehicles are not large, often built around SUVs and vans. Some of our equipment is highly specialized, like these Alucab Gen 3 rooftop tents. Products like this have not been in the USA for very long at all. So, are we overlanding or are we just camping? Well, I think we're a bit of both. But to be truly overland, we need to be far from civilization. It's taken us all day over rough tracks to get here, but to find a nice restaurant would probably take us about 2 hours. That's, for me, not overlanding in its true sense.
This is what I absolutely live for. Nothing quite like it. New place. Everything is new. Everything is new. The colour in the sky is new. Shape of the trees is new. Plants around me are new. Even the vehicle. I do prefer driving my own truck overland, I admit. But to experience a different vehicle is fantastic. For all its good and bad points. Wonderful.
But unlike camping, our vehicles are equipped for both off-road terrain driving, camping, and if we've done it right, comfort and convenience around the camp.
If I'm looking a little bit fuzzy, if the image is looking a bit fuzzy, it's because of condensation in the camera. Strange night in that I was woken in the middle of the night by extreme cold. I was really, really cold, and in that very heavy sleeping bag I should have been warm, and eventually fell back asleep and woken to warmth, intense warmth. The sun is actually very, very hot, blasting straight into the side of my tent. And the camera, I always like to carry the camera inside my tent, particularly if it's got a good microphone on it, because I'd like to, if I wake up in the night and I hear amazing night sounds, like for example last night I was told that there was a good chance that I might hear coyote. I didn't, otherwise you would have heard it by now. Anyway, today we're actually heading further into the plateau, approximately 3-hour drive to the aircraft crash site. We will not be able to drive right to the site. It's a 1.5 hour hike to the site itself, and then we'll be camping next to some other geological formation. We've been told about that. I'm not sure what they have in mind, and that'll be the last day we spend in the desert area of Oregon. Tomorrow we'll actually be starting to head further towards the west, towards the coast, and then of course down towards the sea itself.
Now would be a good opportunity to talk about the Ironman suspension. When Ironman was first launched, they launched it with a number of suspension options with their, as far as I could see, primary market objective of being cheap, inexpensive. That was the goal number one. Quality, without question, came afterwards. But that was 10 or more years ago, and in those early days I was asked to drive a number of vehicles fitted with Ironman suspension because the clients, the buyers of the suspension, weren't happy with the results, and I concurred with them that the suspension was not performing well at all. In fact, one was so bad I was flabbergasted on how bad it was. It was fitted to a Toyota Fortuner. I couldn't believe this was not an upgrade in any sense of the word. This was a downgrade. Now, in 2017, Ironman have come a long way, and they've got some quite good products that are getting quite a good reputation. I wouldn't say a great reputation, but I haven't heard nearly as many complaints in the last 3 or 4 years as I did 10, even 5 years ago. The suspension here in this, which is in fact a Prado 120 or GX 470 Lexus, is their upper end specification shock. The ride is interesting. It's set up for overlanding and it's set up for a load. On the open road, I think the ride it's firm. I like a firm ride. And then over rough stuff, it's horrible. It is absolutely unforgiving. So the first stage of the shock and the spring combination is really resulting in quite a nice ride. The second stage, it's not bad but quite firm, and the deep stage where the springs and the shocks are working hard is not nice at all. this isn't a nice ride on this rough track at all. In fact, it's horrible. So, I think Ironman have come a long way, but I still think that their primary market objective is to be cheap, not to be good. I've climbed into the Tundra to try and make a comparison. Now, yes, the Tundra is a far longer wheelbase, which is going to improve its ride in terms of comfort, not in terms of off-road ability, obviously. But hitting the same kind of ruts and ditches, this is equipped with an old man Emu spring set and nitrocharger shock absorbers. We are quite heavy, but certainly not close to being fully loaded, similar to the GX 470, and it is far nicer to drive. The ride is far more pliant, more planted. It doesn't jump around, and it doesn't give me a fright every time the suspension is actually having to work hard. So it's not I'm not really comparing apples with apples. That's true. The only way to do that is to take exactly the same loaded GX 470 and put a different spring set and shock set in and make a comparison. But I'm able to make some comparisons, and it's confirmed what I've been thinking all along, that in really rough terrain, that the Ironman is horrible. Not impressed at all. I don't think it's a good ride at all. It's taken a good 3 hours on the track to arrive at our destination today, the Grumman A6 Intruder crash site.
Every mass has so a couple things. One is, it is a sacred site, right? This is a site where 2 U.S. Navy pilots did die in service for their country, and as such it is very sacred. So I invite everyone to come up here. It's a great place. It's a great historic piece of our nation, but do please treat it as sacred. And it's not something where we want to take any artifacts or damage any artifacts, but you're free to look and touch and feel and turn over and inspect, because it really is glorious. There's a lot to see up there. It's technical on that last bit. You go up a steep hill, and then you go up a really steep hill up to the top, right? There's parking for about 3 or 4 vehicles up there. We can all fit in. It's going to be tight. We'll throw 2 vehicles on the left side of the trail and 2 vehicles on the right. But as you come over the crest, you'll want to wait for the first guy to get up there, or the guy in front of you to get up there, so you can flag you in. Pretty hard visibility as you go over the top. This would be a great time if you want to take a snack, fill your water bottles, whatever, get some sunscreen on. It's going to be highly exposed. It's a sunny day, so you're going to get a lot of sun today. It'll be several hours up there, and it is a good walk in, right?